So what you're looking at right now is the magnificent Star Trek Starship Creator Warp 2 for Windows PCs. Basically, you get to create starships from the Star Trek universe, and that's all I got in that regard. Quite frankly, I'm amazed my copy of this thing still works, but in any case, Star Trek Starship Creator is one of those oddities originally released at the turn of the millennium, that would be the year 2000 for you kiddies out there. And the main selling point of this thing was that you'd be able to create your own Starship Enterprise or anything of the like, something similar for example, and fly it around some missions. Well, half of that statement is true while the other half is not. The main point of Starship Creator, as if it wasn't already obvious to you, is that you're building and managing Federation vessels based on a number of templates on hand, usually based on the more familiar ships from the Star Trek universe. You build the ship's exteriors either sticking with the familiar stock templates or customizing it with a number of different looking parts. From there you could allocate different ship systems and crews, which will determine how well your newfangled starship will perform on missions. Missions that, mind you, you have no direct control over. Ooh. You see, folks, you pick out a mission to send your newfangled starship on, and you get to see the action takes place, and the action takes place on this grid thing here. Yeah, how well your crew and ship performs on the mission is dependent on whether you've properly equipped or staffed your newly created vessel. If any issues occur during a shakedown cruise, for example, you'll know what went wrong. The game even managed to keep track of all the missions your ship has participated in, along with all the outcome reports if you want to reference those for some reason. Some of these missions take a good long while to complete. A typical shakedown cruise with a fully equipped starship could take around 10 to 20 minutes to complete on the accelerated speed setting. That's 10 to 20 minutes of your life doing virtually f*** all looking at this grid thing, and it's not very exciting. Imagine the longer, more involved missions that drag out even longer. Some could take days even. I honestly have to question why anyone would want to use the real-time speed setting for something like this. Yeah. And that's Starship Creator, quite frankly. That's pretty much just that for the whole experience. You amass credits by completing missions, using those funds to improve your fleet and create new ships, send them on missions you can't get hands-on, the whole shebang. That's the whole thing. The Starship Building portion of Starship Creator is quite easy to get around, I think. You could choose from a number of ship templates to build from, including the Constitution class, the Galaxy class, Defiant class, among others. They even tossed in a Klingon bird of prey for you to fiddle around with. And from there you could customize its external appearance, its components, its command crew, all of which cost money in a society that no longer believes in money. Yeah, there's some nice descriptive bios on the prospective crew members, most of which comprise information that will most likely be null and void in a few years. But beyond that, there's not much else to do. Oh, you could import ships, export ships, and in the case of Warp 2 specifically, you could import ship templates from the previous versions of Starship Creator if you have them. But after a while, the whole thing just gets a bit boring. Being understating that, it gets really boring. You're pretty much doing the same thing over and over and over again. Yeah, there's not a whole lot to Starship Creator. This is all you do, and that's saying a lot. But then again, it's probably a good thing that this is all you do and that there isn't any other action where you can actually, I don't know, fly your starship around and do some cool Star Trek stuff. When you get to preview the Starship renderings of your creation, they look rather weak, very low resolution mapping, pretty ugly to look at, very blocky, almost akin to what you could find on the Super Nintendo. Even by the standards of 2000 PC graphical capabilities, they could have done a lot better. But given what the rest of the program is comprised of, you could hardly fault them for skimping on the 3D renderings. At the very least, the layouts of the menus are functional and manages to replicate the LCAR setup rather nicely, even when building ships that are neither Starfleet or 24th century vessels. Meh. As for the map screen where the missions take place... Fuck me, where's my coffee? Ah, here it is. Damn, it's cold. In terms of sound, no comment. There's a few beeps and bleeps taken from the TV shows with occasional generic sounding sci-fi jingles playing every so often. And there's a woman's voice speaking in the background every so often telling you whether a ship is shipworthy or not. I don't know what else to tell you, man. Starship Creator, take your pick, has a rather interesting premise going for it, but very little in terms of actual substance. It's an interesting look into the design of a Star Trek starship that might be of interest to some of the more minutia-obsessed folks out there, and certainly a neat look at biographies of extremely minor Star Trek characters such as this guy and that guy. The starship building portion might be fun for about a few minutes or so, if that. But once you've seen all the different ship combinations that are possible to put together in Starship Creator, you've pretty much exhausted all the play value there is to be found in Starship Creator, and unfortunately everything else beyond the building part of the program is of little consequence. Just about the only thing worth mentioning is that some of the ship models you put together here can be imported to another Star Trek PC game called Dominion Wars. But it's been such a long time since I've had a copy of that game that I couldn't even begin to tell you whether it's a worthwhile feature or not. Then again, I seem to recall Dominion Wars not being that great of a game to begin with, so who knows. All I know at the moment is that if you really want to create starships of any kind, you're better off with pen, paper, and plenty of imagination. Or maybe a decent 3D modeling software if you have the know-how. These alternatives allow you to create better looking ships with none of the restrictions imposed by Starship Creator and with much better quality. Even a stick figure drawing of the Enterprise is a much better looking ship than whatever this thing will come out. Overall, there's no real reason why you'd want to waste your time or money on subpar software with no viable purpose. Don't engage, don't make it so, just don't bother.